is rock. So just stay calm, we're gonna learn. Now you can email me, I promise to respond or reply. You can call me or WhatsApp me via this contact. Let's just get into the class. Okay, this is a rock. By the end of this class, you will tell what kind of rock is this. Yeah. Okay, let's keep flowing. We have the definition of rock. Okay, a rock is a naturally formed non-living earth material. Rocks are made of collection of mineral grains that are held together in a firm, solid mass. Now, if you take a look at this diagram, you see how they are held together. And you know this is just almost like it's just like a stone, right? Okay, let's talk more about that here. Now, in our course of learning today, we'll be talking about types of rock and their mode of formation. Now, one thing about rock is that various rocks are, let's say, they have different modes of formation, even their appearance and their origin and all that. So they are quite distinctive or unique from one another. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, types of rock. Before I talk about this type of rock, let me explain the the formation of this rock. So in the types of rock, our course of study we're doing today, we talk about igneous rock, the igneous rock. Then we'll talk about sedimentary rock, sedimentary rock. Talk about sedimentary rocks, and then we'll talk about and metamorphic. We'll talk about metamorphic rocks. Just take time, you're gonna understand this in a moment. I'm gonna explain all this now. So I will be starting with igneous rock, and that's the first thing I have here on my first slide. Igneous rock. Okay, igneous rock, they are rocks formed by the solidification and cooling of molten magma. Now, this molten magma, they are molten rocks, molten magma. They are molten rocks. Now, they are ejected beneath the Earth's surface, and when they get to the Earth's surface, they solidify, forming crystals to form igneous rock. Okay, now you can relate this with your kettle. Why using it to boil water? So let's say boiling water with kettle, boiling water with kettle, boiling water. Okay, now when you're boiling water, you experience something. At a point when the water gets hot, it tends to escape. Now they tend to escape because of the heat and pressure. When hot substances stay in a container or in a platform, they try to live there. Understand? So this also happens amongst rock this rock material, that is the molten magma. So over time it tries to find its way out of that particular place that has high temperature and pressure, and when they find themselves on the earth's surface, they form igneous rock. Okay, and that will help us to talk more about the types of rock. We have two types of rock, or two types of igneous rock. Now, other types of igneous rock, types of igneous rock, igneous rock types of igneous rock. We have the first one, and that first one is plutonic igneous rock. Plutonic or intrusive igneous rock. I think this word intrusive will make sense to me more, because it will help to explain the context well. Now, plutonic igneous rock, they are igneous rock formed when this molten magma, when they solidify and form crystals beneath the Earth's surface, they form plutonic igneous rock. An example of such rock we have the granite, we have diorites, and then gabbro. Okay, another example of igneous rock is the volcanic igneous rock. Volcanic igneous rock, volcanic or extrusive. You can think with this word extrusive, extru. Wow, sorry, this is not a extrusive. I think with this word extrusive and intrusive, you understand this concept well. Now, the difference between intrusive igneous rock and extrusive igneous rock is that extrusive igneous rock, that is volcanic igneous rock, they are formed when this molten magma solidifies on the Earth's surface. So when they solidify on the Earth's surface, they form extrusive or volcanic igneous rock. But when they solidify beneath the Earth's surface, they form plutonic or intrusive igneous rock. And a good example of volcanic igneous rock will have the basalt. Basalts. Okay, hope this is making sense to you. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now these are examples of igneous rock. I think this is the granites and the basalt. Okay, so the next rock we have, when I made list here, when I made list of types of rock, I told you about sedimentary rock, and that is the next thing we'll be talking about right now. This one talking about sedimentary rock. That's the next rock we'll have in view. Okay, and that's what the next slide has. Okay, sedimentary rock. Now, sedimentary rocks are formed by deposition of sediments, and that is why in the characteristics of sedimentary rock, actually I didn't explain the characteristics of igneous rock, but I'm going to do that here now. One of the major characteristics of sedimentary rock is that one, they are they occur they occur in layer or strata. They contain fixtures, they contain they contain fossils. They contain fossils. They may be soft. They may be soft and they are not resistant to erosion. They are not resistant to erosion and agents of denudation. Now, if you watch this diagram, you see how hard these rocks are. Okay, and these are igneous rock. Now I think let me just write some things about them, few things about them. One is that igneous rocks are crystalline. They are crystalline in nature. These are characteristics or features of igneous rock. Okay, let's say characteristics. One, I said, okay, let me just write it here. One, I said they are crystalline. They are crystalline in structure. Crystalline in structure. Two, I think I'm going to be doing it here. Two, they are very hard. They are very hard. Three, they are resistant because of their hard nature. They are resistant. They are resistant to erosion. And finally, four, they do not occur in layer, just like we had in sedimentary rock. Okay, now before I go ahead talk about the types of sedimentary rock, let me talk about the mode of formation. So how are these rocks actually formed? Mode of formation. So let me do that here. Mode of formation, and I'm talking about mode of formation of the sedimentary rock. Now these rocks are formed by deposition of sediments. That is why it's as if they are like sliced bread drop on each other, because they are actually deposited sediments by sediments. You understand? Okay, types of sedimentary rock, will have the first one, mechanically formed sedimentary rock. Mechanically formed mechanically formed sedimentary rock. Okay, I'm just gonna stop here. Sedimentary rock, sedimentary rock. Okay, now mechanically formed sedimentary rock are formed by the deposition and accumulation of other rocks. Let's say they might even be igneous rock. You get, that's why I told you they might be hard or they might be soft. I get me, but in most cases, because they are not held by a single force, they are not crystalline. I getting me. They are often considered to be let me say porous. Are you getting me? If they were held by a single crystalline force, they will be stronger. But because they occur in layers, let's say like a sliced bread, one placed after each other, they can easily, let's say, be conquered by this agent of wind and denudation. Are you getting me? So mechanically formed sedimentary rocks, they occur, or we have them when we have sediments, are you getting me, accumulating and cementing in layers after a long period of time. And examples of mechanically formed sedimentary rock will have let me go to the next slide and write the examples. We'll have sandstone, These are examples of mechanically formed sedimentary rock. We have shale, we have clay, and then we also have conglomerates. Conglomerates. Okay. Wow. Now, the next one we'll be talking about is organically formed sedimentary rock. Organically, and I see this. I see these parts often in many questions, especially in your jam and work. Organically formed. So I'm gonna stop there. Organically formed sedimentary rock. Okay. Now, formed sedimentary rock, they are formed from the remains of plants and animals. They can either be formed from what is it called? Plant remains, animal remains, and we have two types of organically formed sedimentary rock. One is the calcareous, and the second one is we have the carbonaceous. Just in a moment, I'm gonna explain all this now. The calcareous sedimentary rock, they are formed from from animals remains. Sorry, animal remains like corals or shellfish. You can understand. So that's how they are formed. And examples we have here, we have clay. Example, we have clay and limestone. Limestone. They are examples of the calcareous organically formed sedimentary rock. And then for the carbonaceous, they are formed from animal remains or vegetable matter. So we say they are formed from vegetable matter. Vegetable matter. Okay, example we have coal, we have peat, we have lignite, and we also have petroleum. Okay, sorry, petroleum. Okay, and then finally we'll have number 3. We'll have chemically formed sedimentary rock. Chemically formed. Okay, now these chemically formed sedimentary rock are just let's say more like rock salts. We'll get them from the precipitate of all these rocks. An example will have gypsum. Gypsum. We also have dolomites, and sodium chloride, which is your common salts. Sodium chloride, common salts. Okay, and hope you know we also get common salts from salt water like ocean, right? Yeah. Okay. The next slide. Wow, this is metamorphic rock. So we are into the next, and that will be this is among the last section of this class. Okay, metamorphic rocks. We get metamorphic rocks from, let's say, already existing rocks. So one thing about metamorphic rock is that they can be hard or soft. They can be hard or soft. They can be hard or soft. Secondly, they they can be crystalline. They can be crystalline. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that they can also occur in layer. They can also occur occur in layers, and oftentimes they are regarded as, let's say, they can be resistant or not resistant to wind and agents of denudation. Now look at one funny thing about this. Metamorphic rock tends to combine the characteristics of igneous rock and then sedimentary rock in a way, because metamorphic rocks are formed from, let's say, pre-existing rocks. So when they are transformed from, let's say, one form to another, they now end up becoming metamorphic rock. A perfect example is your slate. Now, slate is an example of metamorphic rock formed from clay. So originally it was clay, but now it's slate. You get. Another example is your marble. Marble is formed from limestone. And right here, this is a diagram of a metamorphic rock. Okay, another example we have is we can have gneiss. Gneiss is formed from gneiss is formed from, that should be granite. Okay, and then we also have Sich is formed from shale. Okay, let's say SCHI. Sixth is formed from shale. Okay, now you see something about these guys is that they are formed from, let's say, pre-existing rock that have been existing over time. That is how your metamorphic rocks are formed. You understand that? So I think the idea here is that you need to know much about your igneous rock and then know how you can relate between igneous rock and your sedimentary rock. If you can relate well between these two guys, then relating between igneous rock, metamorphic, and then sedimentary rock wouldn't be a challenge because metamorphic rocks are formed from both igneous and sedimentary rock. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, now this is this is this is Zuma Rock located at Abuja, Nigeria. Wow. You see, this is a big mass of rock, a very big mass of rock. So these rocks actually they are beautiful. They are beautiful. They're just non-living things to see in our environment. We can actually do so many things with. You know some of these local grinding stones. So I'm talking about right now. I want to talk about the uses of rocks. Okay, and that's what I'm doing now. Uses of rocks. Okay, so I'm just going to mention a few importance of rock to us and their uses in our society. Okay, one is that rocks are used for construction. One, construction, construction of roads and all that. So we use them to build roads and build houses and so many things in our society. Secondly, we also use them as raw materials in industries, raw materials in industries, raw materials. Like, hope you know, cement is being produced from limestone, and limestone is a rock. So we use them as raw materials in our industries. Okay, we can also use them for domestic purposes. And when I talk about domestic, I mean the grinding stone. You know this thing they call it in Igbo, Nkumose. So we use it to grind. So local people use it for grinding. We can also use some of these rocks that contain fossils. I getting me? Some of them contains natural resources. Okay, let's say for example, the organically formed sedimentary rock. We'll talk about the carbonaceous organically formed sedimentary rock that has petroleum. So it's a natural resources which is helping our society in economic development and all that. So it can also serve as a natural resources. Okay, okay, and then um, some of them are tourist centers. Tourist center, you know what tourist centers? Tourist centers. You know some of these beautiful places. People like to go and have a time with their family, loved ones, and friends. You know this. If you watch this rock, it looks so beautiful, so beautiful. So some persons go here for, let's say, having good time, resort, relaxing and watching, taking pictures and all that. So it serves as a tourist center. And then finally, let me just talk about this. Some of the resources we find in rock can actually be used as ornaments. Let's say gold ornaments or any precious material, can find them on rocks and they can be used to do so many decorations. So this is just a wonderful something in our environment that just have to go with, or we are cool with. Okay, so and finally, I'm so excited in this class. Thank you so much for watching up to this time. I really do appreciate. Join me next time in this class and have a wonderful time. Please join our Facebook community at Mr. Johnson Math and Science class. Follow me on YouTube. If this is your first time, please subscribe and keep following us. Have a good time. Thank you so much. Okay.